Good afternoon from sunny Florida. This is Kevin Songer, and today we're going to discuss the complex challenge of designing coastal green roofs using native plant species. For years, we here at MetroVerde have worked with Florida green roofs and green roofs along the coastline. We've worked with green roofs on sloped applications using a variety of geosynthetic materials and green roofs that were based around very lightweight components. Although native plants are our favorite species to work with, we've also worked with a number of grasses and other landscape species on green roofs here in Florida. One of our biggest challenges in designing coastal green roofs was adapting to historic structures while maintaining structural integrity with respect to cyclones, tropical storms, and hurricanes. We've worked closely with the University of Florida Civil Engineering Department and their outdoor hurricane wind simulator testing green roofs in excess of 130-mile-an-hour tropical storm wind speeds. One of our more recent and interesting coastal green roof projects was on the island of Bermuda, right down Hurricane Alley, for a military hospital. We believe that green roofs have a positive impact on economy, ecology, and the community fabric. Though influenced by many harsh environmental factors, coastal green roofs can produce successful landscapes or highly productive food systems. One of our favorite types of projects is designing coastal green roofs using native plant species. Designing a coastal green roof doesn't have to be hard. In fact, it can be fun. Interestingly though, one of the first questions I always hear is, why use native plants on a coastal green roof to begin with? I always tell clients the decision to use native plants on a coastal green roof is a personal decision. Some of the benefits include long-term survivability, creation of wildlife habitat, beauty, and the opportunity to educate our young people. So in today's video, we're going to discuss our design approach, looking at plant selection, the different types of photosynthesis, CAM, C3 and C4, root architecture, design layout, modeling, and a number of factors that go into choosing the right plants for the right place on the roof and ensuring a coastal green roof that will look good years after it's first installed. One very important note here is that although we present a unique approach to design, always consider ANSI, ASTM, and FLL standards. So why design a coastal green roof using native plants? Why not use turf or landscape plants? Both turf and landscape plants are very valid approaches to designing and implementing a coastal green roof. However, native plants on coastal green roofs are a personal decision, creating a very unique work of bioart. It's a niche, a potentially confusing niche, beginning with the question, what actually is a native plant? As you will find out, there are many definitions to the question of what is a native plant. The US FHWA defines native plants as those plants being endemic to an area or naturalized over geologic time. But what about man's influence on where plants are located? Be careful, there are too many different answers to the native plant question. It's easy to get lost in semantics and miss the green roof design. So what do you do if your project specs require native plants? Well, on our Bermuda project, first place we started was with the literature. Fortunately for our Bermuda project, we found several good books from the 1800s about native plants and the island. One important note to consider is that after value engineering, native plants, which can be very expensive, are often eliminated from a project. However, with an in-depth understanding of the ecology of the project site and a little bit of digging into where your local native nurseries are located, the use of local and endemic native plants can actually benefit the long-term success of a coastal green roof. However, with scant literature concerning coastal green roof design and native plants, we have found that long-term study of the site produces good results. Understanding your project site's native botany is an important prerequisite to a successful green roof design. One of the best ways to determine what plants will do best on your green roof is to take what I call ginkgo walks. Ginkgo walks is a haiku term loosely defined as that of understanding your surroundings. And so for an upcoming coastal green roof project, we've studied the site for a year, starting with the structure or evergreen plants growing locally. One of our first objectives that we want to produce from our ginkgo walks is the development of a bloom chart or bloom rows. So let's take a look at the wide variety of native plants growing locally around our project site and see which of those we would like to incorporate into our design. One of the first structure plants that we see growing across the dunes where our green roof is to be located is Adam's needle, or Yucca filamentosa. This is a marvelous drought-tolerant plant that provides wonderful habitat and evergreen structure to a green roof. Prickly pear, or Opuntia cactus, is another great drought-tolerant native plant to consider using in your coastal green roof design. Opuntia's leaf pads and bright red fruits are important food products also. With its deep dark green color, Florida's native coontie, or Zamia, is a great salt-tolerant plant perfect for coastal green roofs. The coontie life cycle begins with an interesting cylindrical brown sprout. Cockspur is another Opuntia species that is well suited for coastal green roofs. Cockspur is very salt tolerant and drought resilient. Be sure, however, to watch where you walk around cockspur as the needles are deadly. Resurrection fern is an amazing plant, one of those species that has always fascinated me. Resurrection fern is a salt-tolerant, evergreen structure plant that grows well and can be used successfully on coastal green roofs. Another of the structure plants that we find growing well across the site is sea oats. Sea oats is a marvelous structure plant, member of the Poaceae family, and can provide important windbreak functions around our more tender green roof plants. Hydrocotyle or dollarwort is the bane of many gardeners. However, it is a very important plant with respect to removing nutrients such as nitrogen and phosphorus from stormwater and can be a valuable evergreen addition as it's salt tolerant on our coastal green roof design. Native grasses, because of their C4 photosynthesis, provide a very important windbreak component to your coastal green roof. Identifying your site's native grasses will provide you with many options. Broom sedge, or andropogon, is a beautiful Florida native grass with brilliant blue hues in the late summer and stunning brown color in the fall. Salt and drought tolerant broom sedge will make a good perimeter and windbreak plant. Our ginkgo walks and site botanical investigation has showed us also that seashore paspalum is present in large amounts and should do very well on the green roof. Paspalum can be used in the coastal green roof design to provide windbreaks for more tender plants. You will find the native grasses growing across your project site will provide important structural components to your coastal green roof. Dwarf Yaupon holly, or Ilex vomitoria, has red berries that are sought after by many birds, provides habitat, is salt tolerant as well as drought tolerant. Yaupon holly makes another good structure plant for your coastal green roof design. Along with Yaupon, the American holly is another evergreen, salt tolerant, and well suited for green roofs, especially those areas where some height is desired. Shiny blueberry, a vaccinium or member of the blueberry family, is often found growing along dunes and another good evergreen structure plant. Though it does not produce large amounts of fruit, shiny blueberry has beautiful, tiny spring flowers. Catbrier or smilax is another evergreen structure plant often found growing on coastal dunes and suitable as a structural component in your green roof. In addition to its edible tips, catbrier or smilax is also a very important butterfly plant. Finally, wax myrtle is also evergreen and often found growing across many coastal dunes. Wax myrtle, too, like American holly, makes an excellent green roof structure plant. Importantly, the dozen or so evergreen structure plants we've identified will give us green color throughout the year. However, flowering plants will give us a variety of hues at different times of the year. One of the first flowering plants to be seen in the springtime here along the coast is innocence. Innocence is a creeping ground cover with beautiful white blossoms that appear during January and February. When innocence is blooming, one can be sure spring is just around the corner. Sometimes your ginkgo walks will turn up unexpected delights. Beach verbena is an endemic species native to Florida and very rare. This evergreen plant will provide beautiful purple color to your coastal green roof in the dead of winter when very few other flowers are blooming. Salt tolerant and drought tolerant, verbena is an excellent plant design choice. Another purple plant for your coastal green roof is the thistle. The purple thistle is a very important food source to butterflies. Drought and salt tolerant, this plant makes an excellent coastal green roof addition. Spiderwort is another one of the coastal plants that provides beautiful color from the earliest of spring to the late days of summer. An important pollinator plant, spiderwort is also extremely drought and salt tolerant. Wild poinsettia can be seen growing across many dunes at the beach. Wild poinsettia's orange hues provides interesting contrast to the color palette of a coastal green roof. A very hardy and salt-tolerant plant suited well for coastal green roofs is the coral bean. Coral bean provides amazing, brilliant red spring flowers. This plant species grows reliably where salt spray is the most intense. A marvelous addition to any coastal green roof is the evergreen coral honeysuckle vine. Coral honeysuckle is an important nectar plant for hummingbirds. This species not only provides year-round structure, but also beautiful spring color. Another evergreen vine great for coastal green roofs is the Carolina jessamine. In addition to the green structure, Carolina jessamine provides brilliant yellow, a great contrast to the purple and red spring wildflowers. Carolina jessamine is beloved by bees. Gaillardia is probably one of my favorite coastal green roof plants. Also known as blanket flower, Gaillardia blooms year-round. Gaillardia will typically die back during the winter, but reseeds itself prolifically. This plant is a very important coastal pollinating plant. Without a doubt, Gaillardia, or blanket flower, should always be considered as a primary green roof plant along coastal areas. Gaillardia, along with dune sunflower, are members of the aster family. Most asters have C4 photosynthesis capabilities, making them extremely drought tolerant. Dune sunflower, or Helianthus debilis, goes hand in hand with Gaillardia as being one of the most important plants for coastal green roofs. Our ginkgo walks show us that dune sunflower grows everywhere, year-round, blooming in the heat of summer or the dead cold of winter. Both dune sunflower and Biden's alba Spanish needles will either prolifically reseed or grow out from their roots if bitten back during the winter. Spanish needles is both drought tolerant and salt tolerant. I am always amazed at the quantity of honeybees that are attracted to Biden's alba or Spanish needles. Though some consider Biden's alba to be a weed, I would always consider her to be a prime candidate for a coastal green roof design. Slender goldenrod is one of those amazing plants that you discover when walking across the dunes. Well suited for coastal green roofs, slender goldenrod attracts many pollinators and has an amazing scent. Her bright yellow flowers provide brilliant spring color. Camphorweed is a beautiful low-growing member of the aster family. Camphorweed's name is derived because when the leaves are crushed, they emit a strong aromatic odor. Salt and drought-tolerant camphorweed is an excellent choice for coastal green roofs. Another favorite plant of mine for coastal green roof design is Passiflora or maypop. Passiflora is a deciduous vine that produces beautiful late spring and early summer flowers. Horsemint or Monarda is yet another great coastal strand plant suitable for salt-impacted green roofs. This plant is very drought tolerant and a great pollinator species. Some coastal strand or dune plants, such as the oxeye daisy, appear to do well with respect to salt tolerance. However, oxeye daisy requires moist soils. It is important to be able to differentiate on your ginkgo walks or site botany surveys between those dune plants that are drought tolerant and those like oxeye daisy or elderberry that can require significant amounts of water and moist soils. There are a number of different tillandsia species and epiphyte that grow well along the coastal strand and up in the dunes. Tillandsia can make an interesting addition to coastal green roofs. Your weekly botanical forays across the project site will undoubtedly turn up a lot of incidences of goldenrod. Solidago or goldenrod is a great coastal plant, drought tolerant and salt tolerant, perfectly suited for green roofs. Goldenrod provides interesting summer color and is also an important nectar plant for pollinators. Numerous morning glory species grow abundantly across the dunes and within the coastal strand and make perfect flowering plants for green roofs. Purple flowering railroad vine is an excellent addition to any coastal green roof planting design. Yet another interesting flowering beach vine is the beach morning glory. With brilliant white flowers, this plant is a stunning addition to coastal green roofs. Drought tolerant and salt tolerant, this plant will grow well across any given roof exposure expanse. One of the rarer and more interesting beachfront vines is the little seen seaside bean. Seaside bean will grow right in the sandy dunes, is evergreen, and offers stunning summer fuchsia color-like blooms. Finally, the ocean blue morning glory rounds out the morning glory vines that are typically seen growing in the dunes. This plant, in addition to the other morning glory vines, makes a great green roof addition. Our native Ruellia, not to be confused with the invasive landscape Ruellia grows great across salt-impacted shady areas. This plant should also be considered as a prime green roof plant candidate. One of the asters you can always count on to find blooming during the summer, besides Gaillardia and Dune Daisy, is Pityopsis graminifolia, or silkgrass. Here in Florida, silkgrass blooms prolifically during the summer. Silkgrass has always been one of the favorite feeding places for our native bees and butterflies. As a C4 plant, silkgrass is highly drought tolerant. Another of my favorite plants for coastal green roofs is the turkey-tangled frog fruit. Phyllonata flora is both a salt-tolerant and drought-tolerant ground cover, well suited for coastal green roof applications. Although rarely found growing in the dunes, the Glades morning glory is extremely salt-tolerant and usually inhabits coastal and salt marsh areas. Though weedy in growth habit, Glades morning glory is always a reliable coastal green roof plant selection.